The night hung heavy with foreboding as I stood before that desolate house, its time-worn facade staring back like a silent sentinel of forgotten horrors. My trembling hand grasped a feeble flashlight, its feeble beam cutting through the oppressive darkness. With each step, the stairs groaned beneath my weight, echoing in the empty stillness. The basement revealed itself in flickering waves of light and shadow. The air clung to me, cold and clammy, carrying with it a sickening scent of decay. My breath hitched, swallowed by the thick, oppressive atmosphere. I was an intruder in a world that had long since been abandoned. As the beam of my flashlight danced across the damp walls, it uncovered grim relics of the past. Cracked and peeling photographs stared back at me, their subjects forever frozen in time, their eyes hollow and accusing. I could feel their silent judgment, as though they knew the horrors that lurked in the depths of this forsaken place. In the corner, a rusty cot sagged under the weight of forgotten memories. The air grew colder, and a chilling breeze brushed against my skin, as if a phantom breath whispered secrets only the walls could hear. Shadows seemed to shift and sway, taking on grotesque forms that twisted my imagination. A sudden sound shattered the silence, a low, guttural moan that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. My heart raced, echoing the frantic rhythm of my breath. Every instinct screamed at me to flee, to escape this nightmarish abyss. But something held me rooted to the spot, an insatiable curiosity mingled with an irrational dread. I pressed on, each step an agonizing decision, each inch forward an eternity. The flashlight beam wavered, casting elongated, grotesque shapes that seemed to writhe and contort. My mind played cruel tricks, conjuring faces in the shadows, eyes that bore into my soul with a malevolence beyond comprehension. In the distance, a door stood ajar, its yawning maw an invitation or a warning I could not tell. With trembling limbs I approached, compelled by an unseen force that defied reason. As the door swung open, a wretched tableau unfurled before my horrified gaze. Beneath a flickering, feeble light, I beheld a chamber of unspeakable horrors. Rust-streaked implements lay strewn across a blood-stained table, bearing silent witness to unthinkable acts. The walls were etched with desperate pleas, the tortured scrawls of souls lost to madness. I could feel their anguish seeping into my bones, an icy grip that threatened to consume me whole. With a strangled cry, I turned and fled, the darkness clawing at my heels. The stairs groaned in protest, as though the house itself mourned the intrusion. Gasping for air, I burst forth into the night, the cold air a balm to my fevered skin. As I left that accursed place behind, I vowed never to return. As the months passed, but the memory of that forsaken basement lingered, like a festering wound in the recesses of my mind. Nightmares clawed at my sleep, twisted visions of faces contorted in agony, shadows that whispered unspeakable secrets. The weight of that place pressed upon me, an invisible shroud that refused to lift. Desperation gnawed at my resolve, compelling me to seek answers. I delved into the annals of the town's history, scouring yellowed pages for any mention of the house, for clues to the horrors it held. The locals spoke in hushed tones of a dark past, a tale too sinister to share. But my persistence yielded fragments of a tragic narrative. It was said that decades ago, the house had been a sanctuary for the tormented. A doctor, consumed by madness, had conducted grotesque experiments within those very walls, seeking to unravel the mysteries of pain and suffering. The townsfolk, living in fear, had turned a blind eye until the doctor's atrocities could be ignored no longer. A wave of revulsion washed over the town, and a vengeful mob descended upon the house, determined to purge the evil that festered within. The doctor met his end in a fury of righteous anger, his screams echoing through the night. The house, tainted by the malevolence that had seeped into its very foundation, was left to decay, a grim reminder of the darkness that lurked within us all. Armed with this newfound knowledge, a resolve blossomed within me. I would return to that wretched place, confront the horrors that had plagued my every waking moment. The house beckoned like a siren, its walls pulsing with a malevolent energy that seemed to taunt my very existence. Once again I stood before the dilapidated facade, the air thick with a palpable malevolence. The door groaned open, its protest a mournful wail that seemed to resonate with the very soul of the house. With each step, the stairs seemed to groan in protest, a symphony of decay that set my teeth on edge. In the basement, shadows danced like spectral phantoms, their movements a grotesque mockery of life. The air clung to me, a suffocating embrace that threatened to smother all reason. I approached the cot, its presence a silent sentinel to the horrors that had transpired within these walls. As I stood in that accursed chamber, a voice seemed to echo in the depths of my mind, a chorus of anguished souls begging for release. The walls seemed to pulse, reverberating with a malevolent energy that threatened to consume me whole. With trembling hands, I traced the etchings of desperate pleas. Suddenly, a presence enveloped me, a suffocating force that seemed to press in from all sides. The air grew colder, and a chorus of anguished whispers filled the chamber, a cacophony of tortured souls crying out for vindication. I could feel their pain, their sorrow, their unquenchable thirst for justice. With a final, desperate cry, I fled from the basement, the darkness clawing at my heels. The stairs seemed to convulse beneath my feet, a final protest against my intrusion. Gasping for air, I burst forth into the night, the cold wind a balm to my fevered skin. As I left that accursed place behind, I knew that the horrors would forever haunt my every waking moment.